Hello everyone, this is Jason from Primetime Aquatics, and today we've got an unboxing for you. An unfortunate thing happened in our fish room. I was maintaining our Marineland Penguin 200 on our 75-gallon Mbuna tank, and I dropped it. And I broke the pump housing, so it was time to replace that 10-year-old Marineland with something new, and that something is a Seachem Tidal 55. So we've done a lot of videos on filtration. We've looked at sponge filters and hang on the back filters and canister filters and under gravel filters. We've unboxed a lot of filters. And one of the things that kept coming up, one of the names that kept coming up in a filter I hadn't used before was this. This is the Seachem Tidal 55. Now this is going on a 75 gallon and it's a little bit small for a 75 gallon, but based on the amount of space that we had in between the back of the tank and the wall, this is the one I had to get. We have sponge filters already in that 75 gallon, so I'm not really worried about biological filtration. What I want from this hang on the back filter is mechanical filtration to keep the water looking crystal clear. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna unbox it, we're gonna set it up, I'm going to give you my initial impressions, and then at some point in the future we will do a more comprehensive review once I have a little bit of time to work with the filter and see that it is in fact reliable. Okay, so let's go ahead and open up this box. I have not yet opened it, so I don't know quite what to expect. So let's open it up, and on the very top we have the owner's manual / instruction manual. We'll go ahead and put that to the side. And then in the box we have the filter. Now there's a lot of intriguing things about this filter. Thing number one is it does have a surface skimmer. Thing number two is it has a decent amount of space in the back part of the filter itself. So here's the filter. You can see here from the side view, here's the front, here's the back. Initial impression so far, the plastic seems to be pretty heavy duty. What do we have in here? In the box, inside the filter, we have what appears to be the intake tube. So we got this here, and then another interesting thing that they decided to do on this filter is there is a heater holder for the filter. So we'll see how that plays, whether or not we're going to use it. All right, now we got to get the lid off, see what else is inside of here. Now the interesting thing about this lid, you can see here this little blue piece here, that will actually raise up when the filter media is full. And then inside, looks like we have got some biomedia here. Now here's a cool thing. It looks like we've got the basket here, this little blue piece here will lock it into place. And so we can see here, locks it into place. We move this out, and then the whole basket comes right out. And so this is the basket that holds the media. You can see at the very bottom there is a filter sponge there. We'll go ahead and leave that in. Now because we are using this primarily as mechanical filtration, I'm probably going to put some filter floss in here just because we want to catch as much stuff as we possibly can. Okay, so we'll put this aside, and now of course we've got the big basket here, the big compartment for filter media. And we have an adjustable flow here, which is good. We've got our surface skimmer. And then the pump is actually in here. And so it is an internal pump. It's supposed to be self-priming. We'll decide whether or not that's actually going to be the truth. All right, so first things first, let's deal with the basket. I've decided I am not going to use the biomedia. It's just not what I need this filter for. So I'm gonna leave this sponge in here. It's a very coarse sponge with a lot of openings. So I would not suspect this would capture a lot of particulate matter in the water if this is all you're using. I do have some filter floss that I've already kind of cut into pieces. If you are looking for ways to save a lot of money on filtration, I will put a link in the right-hand corner over here so you can look at how to buy your own filter floss and save a ton of money. So I cut out a couple pieces. I'm just gonna lay these in here kind of like this. It's not super high-tech. Again, I want to just see if this initial setup is going to give me some mechanical filtration for the 75-gallon Mbuna tank, which has quite a number of inhabitants, so hopefully this thing will do the job. All right, so let's go ahead and get this set up. So now that I've got the filter media in the basket, by the way, if you were going to be using the biomedia, the recommendation is to leave the sponge on the bottom, put the biomedia on top of the sponge. If you wanted to use activated carbon, you could put that in the middle. I don't use activated carbon in any of my tanks. A lot of them are planted, and carbon will pull out the nutrients that the plants need. So as a general rule, I don't use a lot of chemical filtration. So this thing is going to go ahead and slide right in just like this. And we're going to go ahead and latch this blue piece in here, push it this way so that it locks the basket into place. So that's thing number one. Next thing we have to do is we have to get the intakes on the bottom of the filter. So to do that, there is a little notched end on the intake here, and that's going to go right over this piece like so. And it just kind of clicks into place, so it is adjustable. And what I like about this, and we've talked about this before on some of the other videos, sometimes when they're adjustable intakes, you know, the intake itself is adjustable, that can be a little cheap and gimmicky. This one seems to be much better. It locks into place. It's not going to be easily dislodged. I like that a lot. We're going to go ahead and put it on the fullest adjustment. That way we can deal with the 75 gallon. And then over here, we've got the pump and the housing. This just slides on just like that. And again, it's a nice tight fit. I like that, at least in terms of the intake. There seems to be a lot of quality here, something I am liking quite a bit. So we've got that going. Now the only other thing we have to do is we do have to insert the leveling screw that is right here. So one thing I didn't really realize, there is a blue piece right here, and that also comes in the box with this leveling screw. The little blue insert piece has to get shoved in so that the screw has something to screw into. I'm going to go ahead and screw this thing all the way in, and then once we put this on the back of the tank, I'll figure out whether or not we need to level it. So a couple nice things, you know, I'm already noticing, one, high quality plastics. The intake seems to be high quality. The filter basket itself is relatively narrow, and if you've watched some of my other unboxings before, you will know that I like that, because that way you don't have to have a big bulky filter between the wall and the back of the tank. We had a Marineland on there before, which was also very narrow, so this thing should fit well. It's one of the reasons why I went with the 55. I would have gone with the larger 75, but the filter basket was a little bit wider, and I didn't think it would fit between the wall and the back of the tank the way I have the tank set up now. And again, we're just using it for mechanical filtration. We should be in good shape. This filter will filter about 250 gallons per hour. So we should be good in that respect in terms of moving water through for mechanical filtration. Let's go ahead and get this thing on the back of the tank and see how it does. All right, everybody, so I had to do a little quick change of plans. The filter, the Seachem, was a little bit too small. There wasn't enough space to get it over the rim of the 75 gallon. So just keep that in mind if you're planning on putting it on a 75 gallon. The lip of that tank might be too wide for the filter itself. So I went ahead and put a Marineland 350 on the 75 gallon, which is probably more appropriate for this size tank anyway. Water's gonna clear up in a little bit. It just kind of spits some stuff out of there, because this Marineland 350 actually came from this bristle nose tank. So that's, we put the Tidal 55 on the bristle nose tank. Now it was before all the stuff got dumped in it. Very, very clear, so we will see, you know, in terms of water clarity, if the Seachem will be able to continue keeping this tank extremely clear. Again, I know it looks cloudy now. We really just did a water change on it. Moving the filters around kind of stirred some stuff up, but it's been an extremely clear tank for us. All right, so here's the filter. You can see it's running. We're on the top of the 40-gallon breeder right now. It fit very nicely. That leveling screw works out great. It is extraordinarily quiet. This is one of the quietest filters I've ever had, at least coming out of the box, so we'll see if that maintains itself going forward, but it has been extremely quiet after starting up. It does, in fact, it is self-priming. We just put it in there. There was no water in the back. It sucked the water right out of the tank, into the back of the filter, and right back in. So like that very much. We don't have the top on right now, obviously. I just wanted to kind of show it what it looks like, the water flow, that kind of thing. We'll put the top on in a moment. Again, sorry for all the stuff floating around. We've done a lot of work in this tank, a lot of stuff stirring up. The only thing I probably would not prefer is this blue piece that we've got going on here. So that is the piece that kind of helps determine how much water flow is going to come through the intake, as opposed to the surface skimmer at the top. I kind of wish that was black and maybe not blue. So I know for a lot of you it might not make a big difference, but I guess it just stands out a little bit more than I would like. All right, everybody, so let's talk initial impressions. The construction looks pretty solid. The plastics are all very solid. The intake tube was very solid. I like the fact that it's a non-priming hang on the back filter. You just stick it in. You don't have to worry about the water level in the actual back of the filter itself. It just sucks the water right through. Seems like a pretty strong flow. Like that too. The filter basket, I would say that the filter basket has no more or less space than maybe a Marineland of the, the same size, or an Aquaclear. Maybe the Aquaclear has a little bit more space because it's a little bit wider front to back. The other thing I like about the Seachem Tidal is the fact that it is narrow And so again, you're going to give up a little bit of basket space because I need that narrow space between the back of the tank and the wall itself. So I'm more than willing to sacrifice a little bit of space so I can get the filter behind the tank. Now, some things I think I'm going to have to really keep an eye on. One, I dislike that little blue dial that's now in my fish tank. My tanks are not flawlessly aquascaped, I get that. It is a very quiet filter, at least so far, so I'm enjoying that quite a bit. The reliability, that is something that we're going to be looking at over the coming months as well. We want to make sure, one, that it is doing a good job of mechanical filtration, two, that it's easy to service, three, that we are getting a decent amount of life out of our filter pads before that overflow problem happens that people have been complaining about from time to time on the internet. And then the other thing we want to make sure is that it's restarting. If there's ever a power outage or we're doing water changes, we can just plug it back in and it goes, and that we're not having to mess with the impeller every time we want to go ahead and restart the filter. My initial impressions are, for $42 filter, it's not a bad filter at all. Again, I will put a link in the description below if you're interested in it. We will do an update video when we'll talk about reliability and how things are going in the not too distant future. So if you found this video useful, share, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.